morning, ladies and gentlemen. Did Arab women have their own revolution since the Arab Spring? Have they called silently for a cultural change that society must adapt to? Today we're talking about women across the MENA region and what has the recent uprising has influenced them to change. That will be with today's guest, Ms. Ruth Rillinger, German working in media communications in UN Women MENA region. She will tell us all about her experience with working with Arab women for a year and what are her impressions in that matter. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning, Nouran.
Thank you very much for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so let me start. Do you actually think that women had their own revolution since the Arab Spring?
Yes, I do believe that. It's not that obvious as the other revolutions and the protests in the street, but there's a change taking place since 2011 with the women in Egypt, in the Arab region, but of course it depends on the countries we're speaking about.
But what made you so sure that this is happening?
So I see a lot of in my work as a UN Women communication specialist, I saw what actually progress took place in political participation. So the numbers from the whole Arab region, the Arab states, the political participation of women was 11.3% in 2011, and today it's 19.3%. So there is progress. Of course, there's a huge gap between the countries, and some countries don't have any political participation from women. Others have more than 30%, like Algeria and Tunisia. And if we speak about Egypt, there's also something taking place that's not that obvious, that is maybe cannot be captured in numbers yet.
You mean as a secret revolution or a very silent?
Yeah, kind of. At least that's what I experienced when talking to friends, talking to people, maybe not on an official channels or something. But a lot of my friends tell me that they have all friends, they are taking off the hijab as an expression for their freedom, for their expression, just because they're not convinced anymore. I also know women who are very convinced of the hijab, and it doesn't make them any less powerful. Then there are women moving outside of their homes, to have their own place, actually, in Cairo, for example, which is very unusual for the society. Normally, people stay at home until they're married, and it is against the mainstream, definitely. Yes, there are things taking place among the women. They become more outspoken, also against harassment.
And sexual assaults.
Yeah, sexual assaults, and there are a lot of incidents when women fought back, and I have lots of friends who actually fight back with their hands, and and also a lot of NGOs were founded, anti-harassment, against harassment in the streets. So women, I have the feeling it's slightly changing, that women don't want to stay quiet anymore. And also they're fighting for their place in society, because they always have to prove they're better than men. Maybe that's true all over the world, though.
I see. But from a Western point of view, you worked with Arab women for across the region for a year?
Yeah, it was 6 months. Yeah.
Did you have the same? That was your first impression when you first got here about women, that they're being?
No, not really. So I'm a very kind of open person, and I like to travel, and I like to see different people and not to stereotype. I think that's something that I've learned through my life, through lots of travel experiences. But still, the image we have, as I come from Germany, so I can speak for our media, or for our perspective that we have on Arab women. If a woman is veiled, of course she's suppressed, and then every Arab woman is suppressed. So that's the perspective we mostly have, and we cannot really, we don't, also because we don't get all the side stories, in news. They mostly focus on the bombings and the main events and the major events, although the image changed a little bit during the protests, because women were standing hand in hand with men during the protests, and I think it was half, of men and women in the protests, so that...
Yeah, this is very interesting as well, because in Europe, we know that putting on your hijab is considered a revolutionary act.
Yes.
However, the other way around that we have here, that taking off hijab is considered a revolutionary act.
I think it's about the individuality, who am I as a person? Am I going to be defined by society rules, which is in the Western world more like if you wear hijab, you're maybe an outsider and you have like difficulties. And here, so it's definitely a revolutionary act in the Western world more. And here, the majority wears the hijab. So it's like something that sets me apart from everyone else. And also, people start to criticize more. I mean, I see this actually with men and women. Like people start to question things, religion, the government, politics. I think this is something that has started in 2011, that people were allowed to think. They were allowed to ask questions and ask, why is that like this? Just because it's been like this for so long, it doesn't mean it might be true. So people are searching for their own identity, for their own space in society, for their own voice. Nowadays in Egypt, it's a little bit tough to do this on the political scale, but you can still see this in social environments, in social groups, in music, in NGOs that are being funded, in the art scene. I think the spirit is still there, or definitely it has changed the way people think, the way people look at established rules. Just because something has been there doesn't mean I have to follow them. I can make up my own mind. And this is, from my perspective, something that is changing and gradually changing more even.
And do you think that our Egyptian society will adapt to what women are currently trying to change? Do you think they accept it? Or they will?
I think it's going to be a struggle, of course, and there are a lot of agendas, a lot of forces. But in the end, if women are taking their place, they have to accept it, I think. I mean, women are very powerful in Egypt. I mean, women... You see this, the way they deal with everything, the way they struggle, the way they fight, even for little things.
Were you surprised?
Yes. Actually, I have lots of respect for the women here. Whenever, and I sometimes tell this like to women on the street that I meet. Women here are very strong, and then their face lights up. Because I do believe being a woman here, you have so much pressure. And I know this from my friends and also from like good friends that are opening up and telling me stories. You have the family, of course it depends on the family, but then you also have the society and the neighbors. You have the perception. There's kind of a light on women, whatever they do. They're very under a microscope, whereas men, officially the same rules apply to men as women, but in practice it's not the same thing. So if a woman comes home later than 10 o'clock in the evening, depending on the area, depending on the neighbors, depending on the income and the social status, neighbors might say, oh, she's like a bad girl, what is she doing outside? So even those little things, it's a challenge. So, and sometimes it's even a challenge even for me, like to just go onto the street and being harassed every day.
But did you meet any woman, whatever her nationality from the Arab region, that inspired you a lot or made an influence on you?
Actually, I met a lot of women, also a lot of friends, but also this one example, it still really inspired me because it speaks for me, for what women are struggling with that we don't understand often in the Western world. So I met this woman. She had 2 doctors from Saudi Arabia, and she was living in DC, and then she went back to Saudi Arabia to work for the Islamic Bank there. And she was a really inspiring woman because she fought for 6 months. 6 months, every meeting she brought up an issue, and that was to have more bathrooms for women in every floor, because so far they only had 1 in the whole building.
Okay.
And I can't even imagine like bringing something up for 6 months that seems so minor, and she succeeded in the end. And this for me represents the struggle that a lot of things are taking place. It might be not that obvious. It might be not women going to the street and fighting and shouting, but
it's
there's
a quiet
something.
one.
Yes, it's a quiet revolution that's taking place. Just taking your standpoint and not giving up and having the strength. And I admire that. I have lots of respect for that, actually.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, well, I believe our show has ended for today. Thank you very much for being here with us. However, our conversation is still running on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Please have your say. We'd love to hear your feedback. And for now, thanks for watching and have a good day.